Wedding industry has gotten completely out of control.
They're so expensive.
I had no idea how expensive until I started planning my own.
I know. Since you were little, you've had a vision of your wedding day being the best day of your life, where everyone is coming to celebrate you and your newfound love. Some people may have it big, some people may have it small, and some people it's just straight up over the top. Whatever the wedding of your dream is, think again, because your wedding is keeping you broke. Yeah, that might have been a little harsh, but I think I can show you better than I can tell you.
Don't plan on having a wedding now unless you're planning to sell your kidneys.
Let's talk money. Some of these wedding numbers that I found are absolutely ridiculous. According to Forbes, wedding costs have steadily increased, with the average wedding in the United States totaling $33,000 in 2024, $4,000 higher than in 2023. This is a brand new car. This is a semester in college. And if you're feeling really frisky, this is a lifetime supply of avocado toast, because I know how some of y'all love avocado toast. To put this in perspective, according to CNBC, the median household income in the United States is around $78,000 a year. So hypothetically or potentially, you could be blowing half of your annual income just on this one day. Ouch. According to Forbes, most couples will hire an average of 10 professionals or vendors for their big day. Additionally, the most expensive wedding feature is the venue. The average venue cost ranges from $6,000 to $12,000, but they can go up to as high as $75,000 at luxury locations. Let's talk about the wedding industry. I've been hearing horror stories.
If you're planning a wedding, why the hell is everything so expensive? I had a meeting with a florist today. Why is like the most basic set of flowers costing me $4,000? Guys, at this point, why do brides need a bouquet? Why do brides need a bouquet? Tell me why the one that we like drafted up or whatever, why is it $500? The thing that I'm holding, $500, bro. That's just wild to me.
They gonna tell you that the petals are rare, from an endangered flower that only blooms on a full moon on the third Sunday of every year. I don't know. And let's not forget the photographer whose job is to make you look like a model.
No, I think you're gonna be the first person I ever tell that you need to charge way less for your art. Excuse me, I am worth that. I would normally never, ever argue with an artist and say that they're overcharging, but you are. These are so bad. I have an artistic vision. Do you? I can't see it. These are blurry.
And if you're going for the deluxe package with the unicorn and the fireworks, well, you might as well just forget about owning a house at this point. I don't even know what to say.
I am overwhelmed by the amount that these caterer quotes are. I can't believe it. Like, this can't be normal. Please tell me if this is normal. For family style, not even like formal plated service, it is $31,000 after gratuity, fees, breakdown, setup, and then the food itself, plus a bartender for cocktail hour. $31,000, and I have to supply the liquor for the bar. How am I supposed to like have a normal wedding for 160 people with the food this much? Like, that's half my budget. Like, I already spent more than I wanted to on other things already. This is just, it's crazy. And I feel like nobody's talking about it.
And some of these hidden fees are ridiculous. They're gonna do y'all in. You got setup fees, you got cleanup fees, premium parking for all of your guests. And let me tell you, y'all, these fees are like ninjas. You ain't gonna see it till it's too late. According to US News, here are some common hidden wedding costs. Last minute alterations, heavy drinkers at the open bar, element emergencies, property damage, transportation chauffeurs, marriage license, cake cutting, hidden venue costs, service charges, permits, overtime, and gratuity. Here's a tip. Read the fine print and negotiate. Don't be scared to negotiate these prices. Ask for a detailed breakdown up front. This will help you avoid the surprise fees that you just weren't even expecting.
Not to mention, why is it $10 a person for you to cut a cake? You're weird. $10 a person is crazy as hell. To cut a cake? No.
And many brides-to-be have never even heard of this.
Many of you have never heard of a cake cutting fee before. Not every venue charges a cake cutting fee, but it is more common than not. So basically, if you order your wedding cake through an outside bakery, which means not through your venue or through your caterer, which like almost all cakes will be through an outside bakery. Your venue or your caterer, whoever will be doing the slicing and the serving, charges a cake cutting fee because it requires a certain skill set in order to cut a tiered cake. And also it takes a lot of time and resources in order to portion it out appropriately. And then, of course, the use of the plates and the silverware. Cake cutting fees can be expensive, so always ask your baker, your venue, or your caterer if they charge one and what the fee is. You can avoid a cake cutting fee by simply using pre-portioned desserts. Cupcakes, donuts, cookies, cheesecake bites, anything that's already pre-portioned and that can just be set out on the table for the guests to grab themselves.
Now I had to go here, y'all. Y'all know I got to talk about the wedding debt. Weddings can turn from I do to we owe. I owe a lot. We owe a lot. This is how y'all gonna start the marriage. Many couples are saying I do to debt. And truth be told, a lot of people aren't just going into debt over the wedding. They're going into debt over the honeymoon too. Because you know, for the honeymoon, people got to go to that tropical paradise they've been dreaming about their whole life. And they finna run up a bag. Some people's wedding rings cost a whole house. According to US News, 56% of newlyweds went into debt to pay for their weddings.
My fiance and I are still paying several $1,000s between our wedding and our honeymoon. We had to both get second jobs to pay for this.
If you have to take a loan out to get married, then you have absolutely no business getting married on that budget. I know we all say it's the biggest day of our lives, it needs to be perfect, it needs to be this. Do you know what's also dreamy? Like just as dreamy, or if not dreamier than a perfect wedding day? Secure finances. There is nothing more romantic to me than on my wedding day, sitting there with my husband, literally thinking, oh my God, we don't owe any money to the bank. I'm not saying that taking a very, very small loan, like very small, like we're talking like a few hundred, isn't okay. That's fine. That's totally fine. But when I see people taking like £20,000 of a loan for their dream wedding day, like red flag, I am literally seeing price tags of like 5k, 10k on dresses, and I am just horrified the girls are paying this money.
But I've had a lot of people ask, is it okay to go in debt for your wedding? Short answer to that would be, I would not. I just think going into your marriage though with debt specifically from your wedding is gonna come back to bite you. And that's because as you're figuring out a game plan to pay off the debt that you racked up from your wedding, it might put a sour taste on some of your memories. Like it might make you think, ugh, why did we do this? And why did we buy that? People didn't even care about that. And now here you are like 6 months later still trying to pay for that thing.
Despite all these ridiculous fees that I was not prepared for, I am not going into debt over a wedding. Please do not go into debt over your wedding. Do not take out a loan for your wedding. I know you hate to hear this, but it really is just one day. Don't forget to save extra money for administrative fees, tax, and gratuity, because girl, that took me by surprise too.
I'm not by any means saying if you can afford these things, not to do them. I am saying consider if you cannot afford to do these things, how much debt and financial stress you can go into trying to pay for things like wedding rings, wedding dress, wedding venue, all of these things before you're actually in the marriage can start the marriage in turmoil and financial stress. The one thing about going into debt for your wedding day that I don't think gets talked about enough is the fact that, yeah, everybody had a great time at the wedding. Yeah, it was everything you ever wanted. What about when everything is said and done? What about when all the lights are out and the fireworks are over and you take the dress off and nobody's dancing on the dance floor anymore? And now it's just you and your new spouse and y'all are broke. Does that not scare you? Now y'all are in here trying to figure out how to pay to keep the lights on. Not only are you now trying to learn each other because you are now married, you are now unified, you are now one, but you have to do so under pressure, which means maybe you have to go pick up extra hours at work. Maybe you got to start working extra shifts. Maybe you start swiping that credit card even more because you probably overdid it a little bit on that wedding. I don't think the after gets talked about enough. The after is what we do not see. The after will be when it's you and your spouse trying to figure out how to pay back off this debt. After the wedding, nobody's going to care. They're going to just be like, hey, they came, they had a good time, they supported you, and that's that, right? They're not going to care about all of these bills that you have racked up. Most of the time, you probably already got married people at the wedding. They got their own bills. They ain't got time to be worried about your bills. They came to support you and they're going to go about their business. But this is life, y'all. When you try to step outside of what you really can afford, that's where you start messing up, in my opinion. And I believe that with anything in life. It's a lot better to go into a marriage being financially secure and having some cushion rather than feeling like you can't make a move left, right, or blink wrong at work because you know you got to help pay that wedding back off. We got to talk about wedding expectations, y'all. Social media got a lot of y'all thinking that it has to be grand and over the top and expensive. It don't have to be this way, y'all. The pressure is real. We got Pinterest perfect decorations over here, Instagram worthy moments over here. I would ask just to consider, this is just a question. Are you planning your wedding for Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, your family, your friends, or are you planning it for love? Is it about you and your spouse? Just asking. Now, I'm not going to go too hard on social media because there is good and bad that can come with wedding planning when you're looking on social media. It is great for getting inspiration and ideas, but don't let it pressure you into doing something that you cannot afford or that you really don't want to do. Your wedding should reflect your love, your union, not somebody else's Instagram reel or their Pinterest board. I know this one is going to be a hot topic and a little controversial, but let's talk about the parents' expectations for the wedding. There's often a controversial debate about if the bride's parents are supposed to pay for the wedding. And many say tradition says yes, so what is the argument? Well, newsflash, a lot of parents are broke and they can't afford a $30,000 wedding. Some people's parents ain't even got retirement money set up for themselves and they getting up in age. Many are really struggling with their finances. Some would argue that maybe it's not just unfair, maybe it's actually unrealistic, especially for a lot of people in 2024 and beyond.
Because I've got to tell you, my parents have paid thousands and thousands of dollars towards my wedding.
My mom asked me what my budget was for my wedding, and I said, sister, I don't know. I just thought you were going to pay for it. I thought this wasn't my responsibility. I'm the girl. You're the bride's parents. Give me a way.
This is crazy. Today is my daughter's second wedding anniversary, and I cannot wait for her 18th wedding anniversary because that's when I will have the credit card finally paid off that I used to put on her beautiful wedding. I am an idiot. We didn't have money, of course, for the wedding. Who does? And so I said, listen, I'm just going to put everything on my credit card and we will figure it out. We did everything ourselves. We rented a tent, put it in my parents' pasture. I did all the florals myself. I mean, we bargain hunted for everything. Like, it was a beautiful wedding, but we did it as frugally as possible. And now at the rate that I am currently paying on my credit card, I pay $350 a month, which to me is every extra penny I have. It will take me another 16 years to get that credit card paid off. That is nuts. I'm just a dumb mom that didn't know any better, and now I'm in a bad situation. But it was the most beautiful day ever, and would I do it again? Probably.
You know what I think is a little strange? It's kind of normal to ask your parents to contribute financially for a wedding. Obviously, some parents can't do that, but for a lot of people, if their parent is able, they will ask them to contribute to the wedding, and usually they will. Yet, if we asked our parents to contribute for a down payment for a house, probably a better, more practical, long-term investment, that feels weird, you know? I just feel like we should make this a thing. You know, parents, we don't need weddings. We need houses.
Bride and groom, you're engaged. Now, who pays for what? And this is not set in stone. It's just what's customary. The bride's family pays for the venue, the food, the wedding cake, the transportation on the day of the wedding if needed, florals for the wedding and the reception, a videographer, a photographer, and lodging for the bridesmaids if needed. Now, the groom's family pays for the rehearsal dinner, the alcohol for the reception, the officiant, the bride's bouquet, boutonnieres for the men, and the reception music. Now, remember, none of this is set in stone. It's all about good communication.
Tell me why. Tell me why. When you get engaged and you plan a wedding, everyone assumes that it is your parents paying for the wedding. The wedding planner starts, well, what's the budget that your family has in mind? Your friends, well, my family gave this, and then we gave this. It's so frustrating, and it led to me kind of like getting in a tiff with my family. For what? For why? Because I was just like, oh, are you going to pay for my wedding? And they're like, my mom's from the south side of Chicago. They had weddings in their backyard. They cooked all their own food. A ballroom? An officiant? A 12-piece band? Think again. So anyways, if you're going through this too, where like you're paying for your own wedding, you're not alone. Please don't fight with your family over this shit. It's not worth it.
I think the appropriate thing to do is just have an honest conversation like, hey, would you guys be willing to help? And if they can, I think that's fine. But if they tell you they cannot, you can then go ahead and start planning and know that everything is going to be coming out on your end financially and plan accordingly. And an honest conversation will help everyone set boundaries and manage their expectations of what the wedding process is going to look like financially. I wanted to know what you all thought about this on my channel, so I asked, should the bride's parents pay for the wedding? 3% say fair is tradition. A whopping 42% say it's outdated and the couple should pay. 21% said split, both families should pay. And 35% said depends, case by case basis. And this percentage comes from over 4,300 people. Now, I know that there's a lot of y'all out there that are like, I want to have a nice wedding, but I don't want to be left with a financial strain. There are options out there that will not break the bank. Y'all, elopements are becoming more and more popular, especially in today's society. A lot of people are broke, and the ones that are not trying to do too much are eloping. There's nothing wrong with that. There are a lot of different things you can do to cut down your wedding costs. They have venues that are already set up that have everything you need.
Monday through Thursday, we have pricing of just $1,000 for a 7-hour package at our venue. The venue where we did all the work for you. Marble floors, marble walls, chandeliers. You just show up and look great.
You can do a beach wedding, and a lot of these setups are really cute. You can definitely do something with just your immediate family, your friends, just a small group of people, however you want to do it. And it can still be very cheap and affordable. Me and my husband have been married over 5 years, and we eloped on the beach. And for everything, including my dress, the setup on the beach, the certificates, the chairs, the flowers. Now, this was 5 years ago. We spent around $3,000 to $4,000 on all of that. And that was including my wedding dress, which was probably the most expensive thing that I paid for during the wedding. And it was beautiful. We didn't want to go into our marriage being in debt over this one day, and we still had a great time. We didn't do all the extra food. We met up at a place after the wedding, and we all went and ate some breakfast. I also came across a very good budget food option for a lot of brides and grooms. It has become popular just to hire a food truck vendor outside of the wedding venue to service your wedding. And a lot of people are saying that they are cutting a lot of costs doing it this way, opposed to going the traditional and more normal catering route. This is a great idea if you're trying to save money and you have a good food truck vendor in mind that you may already like anyway. Y'all can do backyard weddings. You can DIY everything. There's people that DIY their whole wedding. They DIY everything from the decorations to the food. Then it's way more personal. I don't know, but y'all need to think outside the box and stop trying to just do everything that you see online. Consider things like off-peak dates so you're not getting charged a lot because everybody is getting married at the same time and you want to get married at that exact same time. Things like this can save you money. You can do secondhand dresses. If you know somebody or you are the somebody looking for a wedding dress, please do not sleep on Sample Sales. Sample Sales offers wedding dresses at a discount, often up to 70% off. Now, these dresses are usually from last season's collections or from the store's display. It's a great option for brides to be looking for high quality gowns at a lower price. Do a potluck at the reception. I don't know, but get it together, like get creative.
Eloping is the biggest flex in the world and you cannot change my mind. It's giving I'm a bad. It's giving I don't care what anyone thinks of me. It's giving this is about the relationship and the union, not the party. I don't know how I landed on wedding talk, but the wedding industry has gotten completely out of control. Weddings have gotten out of control. I'm normally on here influencing y'all to do some shit, but let me de-influence you real quick. First of all, let me start by saying these weddings that you're seeing on TikTok, these viral, beautiful weddings that you're getting your inspo from are at least $100,000. And if you're not engaged yet and you haven't started looking into pricing, you're in for a rude awakening. All these really cool documentary style photos that you're seeing, I looked into some of those photographers because I was like, oh, those are so beautiful. Like that's what I would want my pictures to look like. I had one quote me $10,500. I had another one quote me $16,000. This is just for photos, no video. Now, if you're rich and that's a drop in the bucket to you, this post is not for you. If your parents are rich and they're paying for it, this post is not for you. Keep scrolling. But if a wedding is going to be a financial burden to you and your husband, your parents, or planning it is going to be an emotional burden, just listen up. As a wedding singer, no one gives a flying fuck about your napkins, about your silverware, about your flowers, about your champagne tower. No one actually cares. You might be saying, I'm not doing it for everyone else. I'm doing it for me. No, don't. No. I've been to hundreds of weddings, and when I walk into a wedding and I see beautiful flowers, my reaction is usually, oh wow, that's really beautiful. That's it. That is how people are going to react. Oh, that's pretty. Think about it. You're flipping through someone's wedding album and all those beginning pictures where it's like a close-up of a shoe, a close-up of a ring, a close-up of a rose. I'm like, anyways, moving on. Get to the part where the groom cries. Get to the part where you guys embrace each other. Like, I just want to see you guys. I want to see your love. I don't give a shit about any of that. It is a party, and when I say it goes by so fast, every single bride will tell you that. But as a wedding singer, I have witnessed the bride's face when somebody on the microphone goes, last call for alcohol. They literally look like they're going to have a meltdown because they're like, wait, what? It's over? Yeah, that 4 hours goes by in like 5 minutes. Let's get back to eloping because that's what this post is really about. Some of you have seen that my husband and I eloped and had a surprise wedding. It went completely viral on here. The courthouse, the $35 wedding dress. I wrote my vows in the form of a song, all of that. And when I say 9 months later, I regret absolutely nothing about what we did. And people come up to us constantly and tell us how incredible of an idea that was and how amazing that was. And I feel like it made so much more of an impact on people than if we would have spent, you know, $50,000 to $100,000 on a party. Being the people that eloped, we're just as married as the other couples around us. And I cannot tell you how many of our friends have said, God, I wish we would have done that.
If you're trying to save money on your wedding, consider that October has been the most sought after month in the US for weddings for 6 years in a row, followed by September. This means you can expect to see prices higher during these months. Make it unique, but make it affordable.
My 6-figure wedding was a waste of money. It was literally the best day of my entire life. Now, you might be asking yourself, Claudia, why the hell have you just started this video saying it's a waste of money? I see this consistent dichotomy of opinion in my comment section. Number 1 being that it's the best day of everybody's entire life. Number 2 being it's a complete waste of money. I'm here to tell you that 2 things can be true at the exact same time. Meaning that your wedding day is going to be the best day of your life. On the other hand, it's also going to be a complete waste of money. I loved every second of my wedding and I wish that I could do it all again. But it's a very expensive, long process that causes people a lot of stress. And if you are not somebody who deals with stress well, is very introverted, doesn't like a lot of eyes on them, and doesn't want to spend money and is, you know, suffering in this cost of living crisis like so many of us are, then maybe you need to rethink the size and the cost of your wedding. At the end of the day, your wedding is going to be what you and your partner want and what is within your financial means. So if those 2 things don't add up, if you and your partner are undecided about what you want, and you don't know what your budget is, or you don't want to spend a lot of money, and if you're not on the same page about money, then you need to work out those 2 things before you go down the wedding planning route.
So this comment says, don't spend into the big Long Island wedding. It's ridiculous what it costs. Spend it on a honeymoon and a house. And I see so many things where people are like, I regret spending all this money on a wedding. I should have spent it on anything else. But like, I want to have a huge, fun, big party and throw it for everyone I love.
If a newlywed couple has the cash on hand, perhaps this isn't something that is very stressful. However, over half of newlyweds took debt to pay their wedding, 39% using credit cards, 18% using bank loans, 18% using family loans, and 42% regret going into debt over the wedding expenses. This is why it's crucial to consider how you will be funding your wedding so you and your spouse can avoid feeling regret over your wedding day.
Maybe I'll regret it too, but I can't imagine not having my huge wedding. So I'm not gonna listen.
And just like in any other industry, there are trends in the wedding industry too. Just know that a lot of themes and trends, you may actually have to pay more for those things, especially if they're trending. When planning your wedding, you may come across forums and social media posts that will recommend you to avoid telling vendors such as your florist, baker, hairdresser, or DJ you are planning for a wedding to avoid the wedding markup price. The logic behind this theory is as soon as vendors hear the word wedding, the couple will instantly be charged more for services than a regular customer would be. Before you do that, experts say you're getting charged more for a reason and advise against leaving out this crucial information and argue that the reason a similar service may be differently priced for a wedding is that the vendor is being asked to provide a different product and level of customer service. Planning a wedding can be extremely stressful, and that stress can go from you wanting to say I do to I don't want to do this no more, I'm tired, I'm annoyed, and last but not least, I don't know what I'm doing. Many couples experience anxiety, stress, and depression distraction while trying to plan their big day. And I can totally understand this feeling. The pressure to have everything perfect can get overwhelming. And after the wedding, some people experience what's called post-wedding blues.
This is something people don't talk about after your wedding. From the day that you get engaged until your wedding day, you're literally thinking about your wedding 24/7. You're either planning, you're thinking about the timeline, you're thinking about all the events, your dress, your hair, makeup, marrying your partner, your best friend. And it is the most exciting time of your life. It's euphoric, it's blissful. You just feel like you're on cloud nine, especially leading up to the wedding. And then the wedding comes and it is magical. It's unreal, everything you ever dreamed of. You wish you could relive it. And it's literally the best day of your life. When people say it goes by like this and it's the best day, they're honestly being real. And then after the wedding, you're still talking about it. You're still on cloud nine. Maybe you're going on your honeymoon. But what people don't talk about is when you get home from your honeymoon and after everything's all done, it's over, your bridal era is over, and you are just like, okay, now what? You spent months, if not years, in our case, it was a year and a half, thinking about your wedding and planning it, and you're so excited. And then when it's over, you're kind of like going through the post-wedding blues, which I'm definitely going through. And I'm trying to really reflect on the day and be grateful that it happened and truly be thankful for all those that traveled and celebrated with us and just enjoy this newlywed feeling, because I know it's not going to be here forever. But I think no one talks about like the lull in between when you're not really ready to have kids yet. We're not in a house yet. We're going to start looking, but not yet. It's natural to feel this way when you've been planning a wedding and looking forward to literally the biggest day of your life. And now you're just kind of like in this in-between phase.
Remember, this is just one day, y'all. Even though you want it to be grand and you want to have a good time, focus on what really matters, which is your relationship and the commitment you both are making. Everything else is just like icing on the cake. I asked you all, are high wedding costs justified or a waste of money? 3% say justified, it's a special day. 44% say wasteful, better to save that money. 51% says depend on personal choice. And 2% said no opinion. They never really thought about it. This poll is out of 6,900 votes. Your wedding day can be a very fun, exciting, memorable, loving day. But what you don't want this to turn into is a day that you regret spending a whole bunch of money on, that you're ending up paying years down the line, and feeling that you shouldn't have done it in the first place and you could have put the money elsewhere. These are just things to consider in this video. By all means, do whatever your heart desires. We gotta start making better decisions today in order to have a better future.